Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back. It's Always Almost There. Day after show live. The year is 2025. We are back. Goose is back. Lots happening. Neil and B, how are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Fantastic.
We got a lot to talk about last night. Obviously we've got the first 4-piece Goose show since March 2020, which is crazy. And just a lot to talk about. Let's go around first. I'll start with you, Neil. How are you feeling going into last night? Obviously, none of the three of us are in Milwaukee right now, but how are you feeling going into last night?
The state of Goose, is that what you're asking me right now? I don't know. I mean,
I guess.
I think, like everybody, I was really interested to hear what 4-piece Goose was going to sound like. Is it going to feel like something's missing? Is it going to feel like they have some agility or nimbleness that they otherwise wouldn't have had with a fifth member? These were all the questions that people were asking. Of course, I want to take a moment and pause and say, we miss Jeff already, and we wish him the best in everything that he is working on right now. But yeah, those were the questions that I was asking myself. I was also asking myself, is Fantasy Goose going to crash tonight? Because it's the first time it's going to get used. So that was another thing that I was thinking about last night. So I had a lot on my mind as we were entering into the show.
Mm-hmm. B, what about you?
Yeah. So a lot of similarity, in thought to what Neil just expressed. So yeah, best wishes to Jeff. Of course. And I also wondered if Fancy Goose was going to crash. And it didn't crash. It was
a little slow.
Yeah. It's a new vehicle. You know what I mean? It's got to get broken in, I feel like. But, we'll talk a little bit more about Fancy Goose later. But while we're on the topic of the new site, obviously, huge props to Neil for the countless hours of work that went in behind the scenes on the back end and the front end. I mean, a whole new UI UX, the new back end APIs. So Neil pretty much did this single-handedly. So it looks great. It seems to be performant, and yeah.
Did you get your Gooseman Strip Field points?
I think I did. I think they finally came through. And
ironically, what I found out yesterday is that Goosemas So Ready did not come through, and I don't know why. So I have to figure that one out.
Well, Neil's hard at work. So thank you, Neil. And if anybody wants to get involved, if you're not playing Fantasy Goose, fantasygoose.com. It's easy. Deadline for picks is 6 p.m. Eastern every day, Neil.
6 p.m. Eastern. That's what we're going to give it a try. Maybe we'll try to push it a little bit later tonight because I think some folks were really pinched by the deadline. So we'll figure it out as we go. But the reasoning is 6 p.m. Eastern gives you a dead set time every day. So you know when it is. You don't have to ask your buddies, hey, when is doors? And then the other line of reasoning is that we don't want people cheating because they listen to the sound check. Garrett. So, yeah.
But it's very exciting. And you can now edit your picks before the deadline.
Yeah, that's true. You can also do that.
Yeah,
very exciting stuff.
It's easy to play. It's hard to dominate, but it's easy to play. I think just to draw a line there.
All right. Well, as we know, Mr. Dominant Player down here. But okay. Anyway, my thoughts going into the show. I guess, B, do you have any other thoughts going into the show last night, or was just Fantasy Goose related?
No, I mean, I'll say that. Yeah, I mean, I was excited. I was excited that I had the freedom and the availability to tune in last night. I had an opportunity to do some pregame, and yeah, I was definitely. We'll talk about this as we run through the show. But yeah, I mean, I was excited to hear what this was going to sound like and what, if anything, it would mean for the sound of the band.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, I echo both of you guys that, I felt Jeff's presence was definitely missed last night. We had a nice nod to him towards the end of the show that we'll talk about, looking forward to hopefully him being back on that stage soon. But yeah, it was really going in like, how is the sound going to change? Because we've never heard Quartet Goose with Cotter, and Quartet Goose with Ben was such a different animal because the band sounded so different 5 years ago than they do right now. Their sound was a lot. I guess their sonic palette was a lot more narrow. There weren't as many spaces they could get to. So yeah, I was curious to see, one of the parallels. It was like, is it going to be like early 70s Grateful Dead where they become more nimble and jazzy and whatever? And I didn't necessarily think that was going to happen just based on the style that Goose is. But yeah, I was overall very, very curious. So without further ado, let's dive into the show. Let's start with you, B. First couple of songs, Rockdale and Flood in Franklin Park.
Yeah, what a great start to the show, Mm-hmm. I love a Rockdale opener. I think that always works really well. And this was a really strong Rockdale. And I think this was right out of the gate a good barometer for answering some of those questions that we all had going in. And, I don't know that I have the musical, degree, or years of study to talk eloquently about the technical aspects of the play. But to my ear, what I heard is Cotter can fill the space. So I don't think there was much question there. So obviously this provides a little bit more room for him. So that's awesome. He was able to maybe spread his wings a little bit more than he normally does. And then to your point, Ryan, about just the difference between, the thickness or the heaviness or the sauciness of Goose's sound now to 5 years ago. Yeah, it's wildly different. They create so much more of a kind of sonic foundation mm-hmm. than they did back in their previous 4-piece days. And so I wasn't too concerned about hearing the show last night and thinking, something's missing, and that's not a slight on Jeff, because he is missing, and there are very unique things that he does and flavor that he adds to songs. But at the same time, these are 4 incredible musicians still on the stage. They don't have any problem filling the room with enough, of the, sonic palette to kind of please everyone and reach everyone in the room. So I thought the Rockdale was a really good kind of maybe statement for that, and an opportunity for them to, have a little bit of a jam. And, obviously they've probably been exploring these things over the last few weeks or however long it's been that they've known they're going to be doing this. But yeah, and then I'll shorten it up here with the cover. So yeah, I love Grant Green. I'm a Grant Green fan, and he has a really unique sound and style. And this is a welcome addition to kind of the jazz area of the covers repertoire. And yeah, really, really happy to hear that. Now I will admit, even as a a self-described Grant Green fan, I didn't know the song. Sure. I wasn't able to place it out of the gate. And of course we all know that there's some new Goose songs that we haven't heard yet. And so that was pretty funny. The speculation, is it Hoffman? I don't know.
Is it Iguana
song?
Yeah. We didn't know. Yeah. No, it was a great way to open the show. Echoing your sentiment there. I thought there was some great active interplay from both Rick and Peter in the Rockdale that kind of, sets it apart from a lot of previous 10-minute Rockdales we've heard. And I think that doesn't mean it's like a bracket jam or it's going to be something I need to go back to, but I think that's just the way Goose is now. I keep coming back to that improvisational shift that happened in November and December. And I think this is just showing like that, that's sticking around. They're still, pushing in that direction. So I thought that was really important as a statement in the opener, rather than, if you rearrange this set and you go with the, Whale's Darkness novel to open instead of in the middle of the set. I think the energy in the room is very different, despite the fact that you still have that same 3-song segment coming later. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I think opening with Rockdale, was a very important move on their part. And Flood in Franklin Park, love it. We want to hear it more. Would also like to hear Switch In Spain in more regular rotation. Give us the jazzy Goose. And Neil, just for the record, in my Jam Bass review this morning, I gave you credit for the Schofield button.
The Schofield, excellent. Yeah, man. So this Rockdale is the old standby, right? It is the worn-in pair of tennis shoes. They just, lace them up and everything is comfortable right away. And I feel like that was an intentional choice. They've played the hell out of the song since they debuted it in 2021, and they haven't actually taken their foot off the gas on it. Almost every other song that they've kind of played every third or fourth show kind of got a bunch of long breaks. Rockdale really hasn't done that. So it is as much of the quintessential Goose song as any, and just a comfortable old standby. So that feels great there. And then new cover, right? This is new. This wasn't done like way back in the day and nobody knows about it.
Never.
Okay. And the wild thing, like, I do have to talk about the fact that just 2 days ago, we were talking about Grant Green in chat, and we were talking about Grant Green and how there are elements of his style in Rick's playing, which is really, really fascinating. Insofar as Grant Green kind of plays the guitar as though it's like a horn. And then Rick, there's an interview out there, and I forget what the interview is, but if I think of it, I'll post it on Blue Sky. But where Rick is kind of talking about this style and how he's really into it. And so we were just kind of casually chatting about that. And then 2 days later, Grant Green song, like, so bizarre. Like, it's like the truth is stranger than fiction, really. It's just nuts that they covered a song. And, of course, I loved it because it sounded awesome. And Goose playing the jazzy stuff is always great. I love it when bands do that. Thinking back to like Old Fish, I loved it when they did kind of the jazzy tunes in there. Like, I used to like hunt for tapes with Take the A Train because I just wanted to listen to Trey play, jazzy licks.
Yeah.
So Goose doing it is exciting stuff. And just really stoked about it.
Yeah. And then next up, first set continues. We had one opener. Flood in Franklin Park has never opened a show, but it definitely could and will probably or would. And then we get 3 or 2 more openers here with the Whales and Dr. Darkness, followed by Writing a Novel. I will say that this Whales intro, a little more sauce than normal. Loved what they did there for a second. I kind of like, at first it was like, there was a lot more, it felt like a lot more layers going on than normal. And I was like, is this not the Whales? But it was the Whales. But yeah, solid 3-song run. Nothing else to say here. Neil?
Don't have much to say. I want to talk about the drive. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Anything else, B, on these 3?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you can call Rockdale, if you're going to say this many
Rockdale's an
openers.
Let me pull the stats here.
It's a banger. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's different. Yeah, but yeah, new intro. I think that's the notable thing there that you touched on. Whales Darkness Novel. I mean, just you get a little break there in the middle of the set. You take it easy, settle in, and then you get the big one. And you get the big drive. Yeah.
Get yourself a High Life maybe, or some cheese curds. These are all things that you can do with this time that you're given. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I do actually. Yeah, sorry. I skipped over, but I wanted to mention Dr. Darkness was the first part of the show where it was like, wow, like that is really, feeling Jeff's absence. Like you feel that a bit in Rockdale. I think that second drum kit adds a lot, but Dr. Darkness, already not one of our favorite songs here on this podcast, but I think it lost a lot of oomph only having one drum kit last night. So that's my thought. But shall we talk about this drive?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Neil, I'm going to hand it to you first for this one because I know you have copious thoughts.
I mean, this one blew me away. It's incredible how this band comes out of the gate so fast. Every year, every time they start a tour, it's like Jam of the Year shit in the first set. Like, I just don't understand how they do it. But they came out of the gate strong with this drive. It's like 3 years running, first show of the year, killer drive, right? Is that true?
Yeah,
is
I
true.
mean, I would say 2023. You like put an asterisk first headline show of the year because they had the Okeechobee set the week before.
Oh yeah,
But
right.
both years at the Cap had a very large
Yeah.
drive.
And this drive does not disappoint. It actually reminds me of the drive from the Cap the
Last
year
year.
prior. There's a lot of that kind of this drive, the one that we're talking about. A lot of kind of soloing from Rick that is reminiscent of that jam, and just teetering on the edge of darkness, and then there's just like some beauty. I don't know. It's great stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
you get some of that reverse delay in there.
Yeah.
I think the big difference with this one from my ears was that they didn't really waste any time getting right into the thick of the jam. I don't want to overuse the word efficiency, but I think this is a good example of that because the two Cap drives, those are really long. Those are both, one's about 25, the other one's a little
28
over 30.
and 31. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think both of those do have, a little bit of a settle in period before they get into some of the really interesting stuff that make both of those versions stand way above, the average version. And this one last night, and I re-listened to it today, but I'll need more time to sit with it and more listens. But that's the main thing for me that I really enjoyed in the moment last night was that wow, they're just getting right into this jam, getting into the the reverse delay. I think started to happen right away, only like 7 or 8 minutes in. And
they started the jam, and Rick immediately bent down to his pedals, like it was.
Yeah.
It was a good stuff.
So yeah, love to see it. Great version, and excited to listen to it more.
Yeah, and some amazing two guitar Goose work here. Obviously, it just said like Rick gets down to his pedals almost immediately, leaving Peter as like the lead in the jam, and he's doing some really cool, very psychedelic stuff. And I would be remiss if we did not talk about Geddy here.
Yes.
I cannot wait to see this in person in a few days because holy shit, we've had the light curtain before, but it's only been like it was in Europe and in like small theaters when he couldn't fit the whole light rig. But it seems as though the 2025 light rig is the light curtain. Like that, obviously there's other shit too, but like the drive jam started and you get this shot on the webcast of just this like wall of light in front of the band.
Green.
It comes from the top, green. It comes from the top and the bottom of the stage. Just like, yeah, shout out to Geddy. Because holy shit.
So my question was because it was interesting to see that from different angles at times too.
Yeah.
Where you had kind of the side stage view where you were behind that curtain of light, because from the main camera out behind soundboard, from that view, you cannot see the band. Hence the use of the word curtain, I imagine.
Thank you.
My question is in the venue, is it that effective at hiding the band?
Yeah, I mean,
it's an amazing
depends
effect.
on the color. Depends on the color as well. But yeah, for the most part, you have that. This effect was all over the Eugene Bourne.
It's almost there's something simple to it.
Yeah,
but yet it's amazing.
And great point from Nate Bordash.
That was what I was just gonna say. Yeah,
they're gone.
Is the fog machine? Well, the fog machines aren't gone. The light curtain is as effective as it is because of the amount of smoke that he's pumping in there.
Sure.
It's just the annoying fog machines that show up on the soundboard are now gone. Somebody showed up, they had like a band meeting or something like that, and they were just like, Geddy, not this tour, man.
You're done. You had a year.
you had a year of that shit. You're all over the boards. You're definitely a member of the band now. I think it's cliche at this point to call the lighting director the sixth or fifth member of the band or whatever. But he really was, because he was showing up on the boards. I mean, he was part of the music in a way that a lighting guy never has been before. But I'm also grateful that those things are gone. But one thing about the lights before we move on from the lights is there are several photos last night that seem to defy the laws of physics. Like light looks like it's bending in this, and I don't know how the hell he did that.
Getty's had that for a while. Like he had them in the squares last year. It's something about the lights that he has, but yeah, he can do it where it looks like it's curved, and it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean that part is incredible, and it's super pronounced now. Maybe they had it last year at some point, but I've never seen it like the photos that I've seen from last night. Those are absolutely incredible. So, I mean, kudos to them. Peter talked in the Instagram post, or whoever does the Goose Instagram posts, and said there was going to be new gear. So I was expecting
and new systems,
pedals and things like that. But really, the most noticeable new thing was just the lighting rig. It was just a big step up.
Yeah, it was amazing. I do want to spend a little more time on this drive. Like we went on a little light related tangent. So there we go, Mr. Dude. Thank you very much for weighing in. Could not see the band at all in the room last night during the drive. Sick. So you have this 2-guitar churn, and as you said, Neil, it does remind me a little bit of the 2024 Cap Drive. That kind of first churning segment. Differently, I mean, this one just kind of luxuriates in that space instead of going for that kind of like thrashy, heavy peak that the Cap Drive does. This one just kind of hangs out in this very psychedelic zone, and it's also Cotter just doing that beat, staying consistent throughout this, and letting the rest of the band kind of circle, I guess, or like kind of hang out in the space. Trevor comes in a few different times with some really cool envelope filter stuff. But it's the 2-guitar work, and then Peter makes the switch to piano at like the perfect time, as he knows.
Yes.
And he just starts laying in these chords around Rick's leads, because also that's the thing. Like Peter was mostly the leader of the jam until he went to piano, and Rick then stepped in, not as abruptly as it's kind of felt in the past. Obviously there are some jams where it's like Peter leads and then Rick leads. But Rick kind of very smoothly comes in, and it felt to me that Peter was listening very closely to the phrases that Rick was playing and was like kind of anchoring them very well on piano. So loved this, and I love the way it faded out. I mean, obviously I wish it kept going because I just want them to keep jamming for, longer than 20 minutes. But this jam is incredible. It is currently number 1 on my Jam of the Year playlist. That may surprise you.
It reminds me, just when you think about like Minneapolis Drive last year and SPAC and Fox, that they're just on a run, and these are all they're not those heavy upbeat blissy jams. They're all a little bit unique in their own way, but they're following a little bit of a template, and I feel like this is a continuation of that, and every one of them is awesome. Template isn't a bad word here. Marty said second year of the year of Drive, and yeah, I mean, I think Drive for me, Drive without a doubt was, and the data, I have the data to back it up. Drive was the jam vehicle of the year last year, and no surprise after the aforementioned, Cap Drives, we get another one right off the bat. But yeah, I mean, I just love it. It's on such a run right now. It's incredible.
Yeah. Neil, anything else to add here?
No, nothing else to add other than like, boy, are we lucky, right? We get 2 decent quality jams in this first set right off the bat. And then you get 3 covers in this set, one of which we haven't talked about yet. Have we skipped over it yet?
No, we
there are 3 covers
yet, but we're about to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. So I mean, all in all, pretty good set. There are some lows on this set, but really awesome stuff happening. You get this excellent drive. I mean, the funny thing about the drive, the last thing I'll say is that 1 year from now, if we do another bracket, which we almost certainly will, we will be talking about this drive a year from now. I'm certain of it. Like this thing, I think at this point, like you can think about where this is going to land or end up. And there's no way this one's falling off. We're going to listen to this drive a bunch. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I would say this is not going to be a top seed by the end of the year. I think that's clear. But yeah.
But we'll still be talking about it.
Thank you for the laugh. Oh, we will be. All right. First set ends off with Blood Buzz, Ohio, and Salt. Blood Buzz, Ohio, of course, is a nod to the fact that Milwaukee is the Show-Ohio of Wisconsin. Is that right, Neil?
Oh, my God. No,
and
it's not.
really good salt. I like to see that they're kind of taking it outside the boundaries of the song a little bit. Been after that since the Utah one in September. Little bit of a Pancakes or Wolfman's kind of vibe here, but really pleasant major key space, and that kind of signals where they're going to go for the rest of the show. Kind of sticking to the more upbeat major key jams. But Salt is such an incredible set closer. And rip to my 100% club on this song. You guys got
It's a shame. It's a shame for you. Hey, now there's another guaranteed set closer. I feel like it is going to be firmly entrenched in this spot, a lot like an SOS or a So Ready, where it's like, all right, set one is ending. What are they going to end with? And I love Salt in that spot more than any other song they've got right now. And this one crushed. Of course, I love Blood Buzz Ohio, and I just kind of skipped over it. If you've heard one, you've kind of heard them all, in my opinion. But this Salt is very, very good. And I just love what this does closing out a set, especially this one, where they do kind of the frog in a pot of boiling water thing, where like you don't even know how you got there, but you went from something like quiet and blissy to a total frenzy to end the set. And that's the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. B?
Yeah, not much more. Yeah, Blood Buzz, that's a top tier cover for sure. And yeah, Salt, I think maybe that could be a song that throughout the year we talk about a little bit more as well. I think that Last Night was really good. We've got one in the bracket, and yeah, it seemed to pick up steam the latter part of the year. It kind of felt like I had a little break, and then once it came back, it kind of came back with a vengeance, got played a bit more, and yeah, now it feels like maybe it's ready to start being there. Maybe the comfort level has grown, and now we'll start to see a little bit more kind of adventurous version. So yeah, looking forward to that.
There we go. Awesome. So that brings us to the end of the first set here. Set 2, kicking off with some segues here. Creatures into Atlas Dogs into Animal. Honestly, if I woke up this morning not having heard a note of this show and I looked at this second set, I would have winced. You don't look at the song timings, you don't know what happened. I'd be like, oh, what's going on?
How's
there?
the Arcadia?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't need to hear anything else, right? Luckily, that's not the case. Neil, yeah, you want to start us off here? I know you have thoughts on this Creatures.
I mean, I've got a bunch of thoughts. Well, so they played Creatures in the classic spot, the set 2 opener. This is harkening back to, it's just like, yeah, this is an OG set list so far. And then into Atlas Dogs. Atlas Dogs gets jammed out in very similar fashion to the Atlas Dogs that lives in the bracket right now. You get that familiar Tarantella Napolitana tease throughout that jam, which is funny that they did it back to back with Creatures, because that's where that jam used to live. And I'd love to have the opportunity to ask somebody from the band someday, what do you call that jam? Because it is modular. They take it out of one song and they put it in another. There has to be a name for it, or some kind of this is the one we do in this key or whatever. But it's interesting, fascinating that it's been removed from Creatures, then put into Atlas Dogs, and they played these two back to back. I thought that was cool. And then the segue that you get from this Atlas Dogs into the Animal. Oh my God. And again, the frog in a pot of boiling water, where you just have no idea how you got there, but all of a sudden you're in the song. And that was killer, man. And then, I mean, we can spend the next however long talking about this Animal. I will say this, it was a big surprise. Ryan had about 40 tweets about how, one, he was disappointed that they were playing Animal, and then two, that he was wrong.
Yeah,
no,
I own that.
Yeah. You had several tweets about how you were wrong, which is great.
Well, I said when they went into Animal, I was like, oh, this is not what you want to see mid-set 2. And then around 5 minutes later, I was like, okay, I was wrong. Love to eat my words, because when I post something like that, I'm not going to be upset if I'm proved wrong. I will be very happy if I'm proved wrong, because Animal mid-set 2 generally, based on the track record of 95% of the versions they've played, it's not going to be particularly notable. And there was very clear that they had talked about this, like either at set break or before the show. Like, we are going to jam Animal tonight, because the jam started and they very quickly, departed the norm and went into this beautiful, beautiful bliss. Very similar Man Tumble-y kind of vibe, where you have, the rest of the band kind of setting Rick up for this very emotional solo. Obviously lesser degree than the Man Tumble, before people come at me. But I love this jam a lot. Yeah. This is probably, if I'm going to listen to any Animal at any point, this is probably now the one that I'm going to go to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about the Animal here thus far in the set. And look, I don't have a lot of intelligent musical things to say about it right now. I'm really excited to go back and give it a listen. I haven't been able to hit the soundboards yet this afternoon, but in the moment, all I could think was, wow, this is a surprisingly fresh and different take, and it's really working, and I'm really enjoying it. And I normally don't have that to say about Animal jams.
Yeah. Or Animal in general.
So that these are all good things, that's a great feeling to experience when you go into a song maybe with a little bit of an ugh, and then you end up with a, wow, that was an incredible jam feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. I also think,
still some more thoughts, because I didn't finish my thoughts on this Animal.
Sorry. Yes.
When we were talking about your tweets about being wrong. Just want to circle back to that. In any case, the jam in this, well, I feel like there's like a jamming style that has kind of popped up, maybe at Goose Miss, and they're kind of sticking with it. But this jam, to me, really, it reminds me of the Goose Miss Hunger Site a ton for a big stretch of it. And I mean, I love that jam. I really love that jam. The more I listen to it, the more I love it. So I think I'm going to get some mileage out of this Animal. And I don't know, well, let's ask two questions. Is this the better song? Is this the best jam of the night? Question one. You've already kind of answered it, Ryan. And then question two, is this the best Animal that they've ever played? And I don't know, it's kind of, maybe that's a hasty train thing, but it's a question you have to ask yourself when they do something like this. Two interesting questions. I don't know which one I like more. I think I might like the Animal more. I don't know.
So that's interesting. I think Drive is a winner for me. Animal's also on my playlist. That one is 100% on there. I will say better than the debut. Matt Ross wants to know. Absolutely. That jam has never really done anything for me.
I think Brussels is the question.
Yeah, and for me, I was saying earlier that I think Brussels may be an objectively better jam, but I would rather listen to this one. And it's been a long time since I listened to Brussels, so I might spin it later, just to refresh myself on it and do like a little A/B. But I think this one might be the GOAT.
I don't do a lot of Animal A/B comparisons.
Never really been a reason to.
I might not. I still might not.
Oh boy! All right. Well, from there, the interesting set list calls continue with Draconian Meter Maid, first time ever in the second set. And I will say I had high hopes when this started. Based on how the last few versions have been. And this is interesting. I will say I legitimately missed Jeff's guitar on this. I don't know if anyone else heard the absence, but I did. And I missed it. And if you go back to the past couple, especially the Austin version from New Year's, he's really doing a lot in the jam. And so I felt there was a little bit of layer of texture that was missing. But the last 55 seconds of this jam, holy shit, Goose. Holy shit. We need more of this. Just like ambient, quiet, Moog Muse tones, like floating in space. My jaw was on the floor, and I thought they were actually sticking with it for a second. And then Rick,
it just ended. Yeah.
Rick did that thing he does where he's like, "Oh no, we're getting into a cool jam. I gotta Go to Arcadia.
Right. Well, I mean, they were in a rush. If you look at the set list that's out there, they had quite a bit of stuff on it.
Yeah.
So they very intentionally jammed up the next one too. So
yeah, I mean, I just want to say also about the early part of this Meter Maid. Very big rock vibe. Drum and bass breaks, a lot of fun.
I have to say I like this song a little bit more now than I did.
When it was debuted.
Yeah, and maybe the entire year even. I think the bracket version. Remind me of where the bracket version's from. It's from November 19th.
Cincy.
Is that right?
November 9th.
November 9th.
In Cincy.
That's just a really good jam. And, I don't know, maybe sometimes I would describe this as a quirkier song. You know what I mean? It's got it definitely has that classic old school jam band, like, okay, we're going to have a spooky part and we're going to have, kind of some composed stuff. And it kind of checks all those boxes and mashes it all into one song. Right. But yeah, it's grown on me a little bit. I think when it came on last night, I didn't cringe as much as maybe I would have one a long time ago.
Oh, there you go. All the way back in September when they played it for the first time. Neil, thoughts?
I have only listened to this once, so I don't have an abundance of thoughts on this one. As you two know, I did fall asleep watching this show last night. So, I only just got the Bandcamp just, what was it, like maybe an hour before we recorded. So, yeah, not much to say.
There we go. And then Arcadia, huge. B, why don't you start us off with the set closing Arcadia here?
Yeah, so people are saying that this is a great version. Maybe the best version since, insert whenever you think the last big version was. And I think we always talk about that with Arcadia. We had a good one.
Just the Goosemas.
Yeah,
before that, it wasn't really.
And I think at that point, there was a lot of, well, this is the best Arcadia since, 2023 or Mission or whatever it is, right? And yeah, I don't know. I got to go back and listen to this one again too. It was really, really good, and it's such a great song, and I feel like. I was going through some just like number of times played numbers, wrapping up last year's stuff. And, Arcadia is right up there. I don't have the data in front of me right now, but I mean, Arcadia was one of the most played originals last year, if not the top most played. And so I love that. And again, we'd have to go back and look at the previous year's data, but there was a resurgence last year, at least in terms of frequency of Arcadia being played. And then to catch it night one of 2025, that tells me that maybe that trend is going to continue. And last night's jam then maybe further tells you that, yeah, I mean, maybe we're back to getting some really huge Arcadias that maybe will go way out there. Maybe we'll get some Arcadias back in the bracket. But yeah, I'm really excited to go back and listen to this one. Probably right when we're done here, I'm going to go back and take a re-listen to all the highlights of last night. I'm really excited to hear this one again. Yeah,
there was some intention behind this jam too. It felt similar to the Animal, where maybe they talked about like, we're going to do something different with this song tonight. We kind of talked about that in the fall as well, that there felt like, some intention behind some of the jams. And so this one definitely, goes in a different direction pretty quickly, gets pretty quiet, major key, beautiful, beautiful soft bed of piano from Peter throughout this version. And I love Rick's use of dynamics, and hanging back and not just going straight for the ripping solo that obviously is right there because he's done it a million times in Arcadia. But the first huge chunk of this jam is great, but when they bring it down to complete silence after that first peak before they build it back up, to the Arcadia ending, so cool. And Rick just like playing that one note over and over and over. as they do that, and then just coming back in to the finish. But yeah, this was great. Definitely going to be in my listening rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big takeaway on this show is there's a bunch of stuff to go back and listen to. And like Jive just said, I'm really excited to listen to this. And the only sadness I have is that Goose is playing again soon, so I might not get a chance to listen to all this stuff before they play again. And I really want to.
It'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said all of the things I wanted to say about that Arcadia. That particular section where that kind of goes to silence and then they build it back up again. Wow. I mean, Rick especially. Wow, the restraint and just allowing the band to kind of pull this thing together instead of being like, I'm the lead guitar player. I'm gonna do it all here. Is just awesome that he's doing it, and it feels like it's happening more and more. We talked a little bit about 2019 when we started here, or 2020, early 2020, and I think that's like the big difference now. It's not the Rick show anymore. That used to be the big knock on Goose, but now there are several moments in the show where Peter's playing is excellent and is the standout thing, and so that's just exciting stuff. That the state of the band is where it's at right now. And that's what they needed, frankly. If they'd stayed that way, I don't know if as many people will be listening to them.
Sure.
So I'm just excited about, I don't know. I've said this a bunch, but the fewer notes Rick plays, the better the band is in certain moments. And I think that was on display last night.
There we go. And then, come back on for the encore. Quick little turbulence. Nothing really to say here. You guys got anything to say here? I like it in this slot.
Yeah.
Encore that shit.
Yeah. Encore that
it's great.
shit.
I like it better there than the opener slot. I really do.
I think it's
awesome.
It's more novel in the encore slot, right? Like, when it's an opener, it's like, turbulence encore. When it's an encore, it's like, that's cool. And shout out to the Miller High Life Theater for not having a hard curfew. That is awesome. And we love it.
Yeah, how many minutes of music did they play last night? Do we know that off the top of our heads right now? Because it feels like it was a lot of minutes.
I don't know if Adam has crunched the numbers yet.
Sorry for asking a question we didn't have the answer to. But yeah. My hunch is that there are a lot of minutes of music from last night.
Yes. There are lots of minutes of music. But yeah, it's great opening
one was
night.
Over 80.
That one was. I think set 2 was like close to 80 as well.
Yeah. Yep. Set 2 without the encore was over 80. Encore would have put set 2 plus encore over 90. So yeah, that's a long show.
Yeah, great, amazing.
That's probably why I was fading so hard at the end. I mean, I wasn't. I think I was so excited in the afternoon that I didn't pace things.
Neil knows about that.
I should have.
I didn't either. I did not either.
Well, it's Friday night, so get ready. Goose is settled in. We got one.
I've got big plans tonight, so I'm not gonna be able to. I'm seeing some live music.
Wow!
Oh,
all the way out there.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We're gonna catch Melvin Seals in the JGB tonight and tomorrow night in Buena Vista.
Kev, correct?
Kev's coming tomorrow. Yeah.
Got it. Nice.
All right.
Very exciting. Well, before we go and before we get excited for tonight's show, we are 6 days in to the voting on Jam of the Year 2024. Very exciting. It's been awesome to see the turnout and the discussion around the tournament this year. So far, no big notable upsets, I guess, but we did have both 9 seeds beating the 8 seeds in the first 2 regions, which I think we see almost every year at this point. I feel like the 9 seeds always win in the first round.
Yeah, actually, one of them is a head scratcher to me, but I don't know. Go ahead, Jeff.
What was the Big Modern Inside Out? What were the?
That was a 7-10.
That was 7-10. Gotcha.
Yeah, that one was close, down to 1 vote.
A little bit of controversy on that one.
A little bit of controversy. But yes, Inside Out pulled off the victory there. Otherwise, just been chalk so far. Nothing crazy. But today's matchups obviously are up, posted on our Blue Sky and our Instagram stories. I believe they get shared into El Goose on Facebook as well. Go find the links. Go get involved. It's great.
Just want to say a couple thank yous.
Yeah.
So, Maxine, who typically posts those on Facebook, thank you for doing that. And also a gigantic thank you to the folks at WTED Radio who have been airing these matchups twice a day.
Yes.
Once at noon and once at 8. I've been jumping in and listening. I've been joining the chat and just kind of talking with everybody there. Go check it out. They're awesome folks, and they're doing a really good job airing this stuff. Killer bumper they just got today that I just heard, which is amazing. So go check it out for sure. Don't just listen to the jams, listen to it over there and chat with the folks. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. It's all about the discussion. WTEDradio.com, 12 and 8 Eastern every day. Amazing. All right. Well, we have 4.5 hours or so until Goose plays tonight. Very, very excited to see what happens. Part of me wants them to play Big Modern, and part of me somehow hopes they don't play it either of the next two shows, so they play it in Toronto, but I know that there's no way that happens. So we'll see, but I'm very much looking forward to night 2 of Milwaukee, hoping for some more big jams. But any other closing thoughts from you guys?
Hopefully they bust out the 40s tonight and we get an extra, spicy version of Goose. But
maybe we'll get that tomorrow night when they have the day off.
Yeah,
they'll do the 40s, but we'll see. We do need Rick chugging a 40 on stage again. Anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow afternoon to recap tonight's show. Of course, we're very excited to be on tour again for these day after shows. So everybody enjoy the show, whether you're there or at home. Of course, join in the discussion on socials with us as always. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Always Almost There Day After Show Live. Peace.